Unexpected reunion. Olivia Winters tucked a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear as she navigated the cobblestone path winding through the Tuscan vineyard. The late afternoon sun cast golden light across rows of verdant vines, transforming the wedding venue into something from a Renaissance painting. She adjusted the violin case slung over her shoulder. Bringing it had been impulsive, but Francesca had insisted she might play something at the reception. "I'm just here as a guest," Olivia had protested, but her friend knew better. Music was Olivia's refuge, and she'd need one today. The wedding invitation had arrived 3 months ago, embossed with silver foil and promises of celebration. Francesca Bianchi, her roommate from university, was marrying into one of Italy's most prestigious winemaking families. "Please come," Francesca had begged during their video call. "I need at least one person who knows the real me." So here she was, wearing a sage green dress that had consumed half her month's salary from the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, where she occupied the 8th chair in the violin section. At 32, Olivia had made peace with her modest musical career mostly. As she approached the garden where guests mingled, her phone vibrated. A message from her orchestra director. "Final decision Monday. Audition for first chair, still under consideration." Olivia closed her eyes briefly. After 10 years, a chance at first chair seemed impossibly distant, yet tantalizing close. She slipped her phone away and plastered on a smile. "Olivia, you came." Francesca appeared in a flutter of white lace, embracing her. "You look stunning. Come, you must meet everyone." For the next hour, Olivia sipped Prosecco and made small talk with Francesca's relatives and friends. Her Italian was rusty but serviceable, enough to discuss the perfect weather and the beauty of the estate. She was midway through a conversation with Francesca's cousin when the crowd shifted. Voices hushed and heads turned toward the entrance. "Il maestro." Arrivato," someone whispered. Olivia turned, curious about this maestro who commanded such attention. The glass nearly slipped from her fingers. Dominic Castellano. 6 years had passed since she'd seen him in person, though his face appeared regularly in music magazines and arts programs. At 40, he had grown more distinguished, his black hair now threaded with silver at the temples. His posture still commanding as he moved through the crowd with easy confidence. He hadn't changed, not really. Same intense dark eyes. Same subtle half-smile that transformed his serious demeanor. Same hands that had once closed over hers, guiding her bow technique during those 3 magical days at the Barcelona Music Festival, before everything fell apart, before he'd vanished from her life without explanation, before she'd learned he was engaged to Camilla Valenti, the celebrated soprano who now clung to his arm like a perfect accessory. "Isn't it wonderful that Dominic agreed to compose an original piece for the ceremony?" Francesca's cousin continued, oblivious to Olivia's shock. "He rarely does weddings, but he and the groom were schoolmates." Olivia nodded mechanically, fighting the urge to flee. She hadn't known. How could she have known that Dominic would be here? She edged backward, seeking escape, when Francesca appeared beside her. "There's someone special I want you to meet," her friend said, guiding her forward. Crowd parted. Dominic stood before her, his conversation halting mid-sentence as their eyes met. Recognition dawned in his expression, confusion, disbelief. Then something darker and more complex. The noise of the party seemed to fade. "Olivia," he said her name on his lips, a mix of question and revelation. "Hello, Dominic," she replied, surprised at the steadiness in her voice. Camilla glanced between them. "You know each other?" 6 years of questions. 6 years of what-ifs. 6 years since Barcelona, since stolen moments between rehearsals, since passionate discussions about Vivaldi and Paganini under Mediterranean stars. "Yes," Dominic said, his gaze never leaving Olivia's face. "We've met before." The Tuscan sunset painted everything gold, but Olivia felt only the chill of memories as the violin case suddenly weighed heavy on her shoulder, carrying more than just an instrument, but the echo of dreams once shared with the man now standing before her, looking at her as if seeing a ghost. Whispers of the past, the morning after their unexpected reunion, Olivia escaped to the vineyard's small music room. She needed solitude, needed her violin. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tuned the instrument, the events of the previous evening. Still raw, after their initial shock of recognition, Dominic had maintained his composure with practiced elegance. Olivia was a promising talent I met at the Barcelona festival, he'd explained to Camilla, reducing their connection to something clinical and professional. Camilla, with her perfect porcelain features and calculated smile, had nodded, unimpressed. How lovely! Dominic mentors so many young musicians. Mentors. Is that what she had been? A student. A footnote. Olivia drew her bow across the strings, letting Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D major fill the sunlit room. She lost herself in the music, eyes closed, swaying slightly as the passionate melody released what words could not. You still favor? Tchaikovsky, when you're upset, her bow faltered. Dominic stood in the doorway, hands in the pockets of his linen trousers, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. I didn't realize I was so predictable, she replied, lowering. Her violin, not predictable, consistent. He stepped into the room, keeping a cautious distance. Your interpretation has matured. Philadelphia Orchestra. 8th chair. You should be first. Yes, well, not all of us had the luxury of a meteoric rise. The bitterness in her voice surprised even her. Dominic's expression tightened. What do you think happened? That I simply ... rose? What else should I think? 3 days in Barcelona, promises to meet in New York to discuss my career, and then ... nothing. 2 weeks later, your engagement to Camilla, announced in Classical Music Monthly. Olivia returned the violin to its case with deliberate care. I waited at that cafe on Broadway like a fool. I tried to reach you, don't. She held up her hand. Please don't insult my intelligence. You're Dominic Castellano. You had wanted to find me, you would have. The silence between them stretched, filled with unspoken accusations and the ghost of what might have been. Outside, wedding preparations continued, florists arranging centerpieces, caterers testing recipes, a world spinning onward oblivious. 2 old wounds reopened. Barcelona wasn't what you think, he finally said, his voice low. Those 3 days. They changed everything for me. They changed nothing, Olivia countered. You've returned to your world, I to mine. You have no idea what happened after you left, because you never told me? Her voice rose despite her efforts at control. You shared your music with me, your ideas about revolutionizing classical composition. Your dreams of forming a new kind of orchestra. You held my hands and told me I had a gift that shouldn't be buried in some regional symphony. And then you disappeared. Dominic moved closer, eyes dark with something she couldn't read. Camilla's father was funding my first major symphony. When he learned about you, about me, there was nothing to learn. We talked music. We shared ideas. We shared more than that, and you know it. His voice dropped to nearly a whisper. We never touched beyond your lessons, but what passed between us. It was enough for Valenti to threaten everything I'd worked for. The implications hit Olivia like a physical blow. You chose your career. I chose survival. I had nothing then. Olivia, no connections, no wealthy family, just talent and ambition. His hands clenched. Valenti made it clear the symphony would be canceled, my reputation questioned. He would ensure no major orchestra would take a chance on me. So you married his daughter instead. We're not married yet. The quiet admission hung in the air between them. 6 years of engagement seemed excessive even in high society circles. A knock interrupted them. Francesca peered in, her expression apologetic. There you are, Dominic. Camilla's looking everywhere. The musicians have arrived for the ceremony. Rehearsal, he nodded, composing himself instantly. Thank you, Francesca, I'll be right there. When they were alone again, Olivia spoke softly. Go, your fiancé is waiting. Something flickered in his eyes. Regret, perhaps, or resignation. The piece I'm premiering tomorrow for the ceremony. ... It's called Barcelona Nocturne, I wrote. It's 6 years ago. He left her standing in the golden light of the music room. The revelations settling around her like dust motes in the sun, beautiful, ephemeral, impossible to grasp. Discordant melodies, the rehearsal dinner transformed the vineyard's largest wine cellar into an intimate wonderland. Candles flickered in antique holders between rustic wooden tables, illuminating stone walls lined with aging barrels. Under different circumstances, Olivia might have appreciated the romantic atmosphere. "You're distracted," observed Marcello, Francesca's cousin, and Olivia's assigned dinner companion. His friendly smile had been a welcome buffer throughout the evening. "Just jet lag," she lied, pushing risotto around her plate. Across the room, Dominic sat beside Camilla, nodding as she spoke animatedly to the guests around them. His posture was perfect, his smile polite, the consummate performer. Only Olivia noticed how his fingers tapped against his leg in rhythm patterns, a nervous habit she remembered from Barcelona. "They make a striking couple," Marcello commented, following her gaze, "though there's always been something performative about them. Like watching actors who've played the same roles too long." Olivia raised an eyebrow. She sounded skeptical of their relationship. Marcello shrugged. "The music world has its politics. Camilla's father practically owns the Milan Opera House. Dominic's compositions are brilliant, but brilliance alone rarely opens certain doors." He leaned closer. "Rumor has it he's been declining prestigious opportunities lately, a composer-in-residence position in Vienna, a film score for a major director." Camilla was furious. "Why would he turn those down?" Olivia asked, her curiosity piqued, despite herself. "Some say he's pursuing a different project, something more personal." Before Marcello could elaborate, Francesca's father rose for a toast, and conversation subsided. Throughout the speeches and well wishes, Olivia felt Dominic's gaze occasionally finding her across the crowded room. Later, as guests mingled over dessert, her phone vibrated with another message from Philadelphia. "Need your decision by tomorrow. Vienna Philharmonic guest violinist opportunity requires immediate commitment. Must know if you're taking first chair or leaving." The opportunity she dreamed of, playing with the Vienna Philharmonic. Even temporarily versus first chair in Philadelphia. Both required her answer before she returned home. Her future path? Difficult decision? Camilla's voice startled her. The soprano had appeared beside her, elegant in a crimson dress that complemented her raven hair. Olivia slipped her phone away. "Just work. Dominic says you're quite talented." Camilla's tone was pleasant, her eyes calculating. "Though talent without proper guidance rarely reaches its potential, I understand you're still in the violin section. After how long has it been? 10 years with Philadelphia?"
Oh.
10 years? How? ... dedicated? The subtle condescension wasn't lost. On Olivia, Dominic has always had a soft spot for undiscovered musicians. He sees potential where others might not. Is that what I am? A charity case? Camilla laughed softly. "Oh, I think you were rather more than that, weren't you? Barcelona has a way of inspiring ... indiscretions." Ice formed in Olivia's stomach. Nothing happened in Barcelona. Perhaps not physically. Camilla sipped her wine. But something changed in him after that festival. He returned distant, distracted. Started composing that melancholy nocturne he refuses to publish. Her perfect smile never wavered. "Do you know what it's like living in the shadow of a ghost? Competing with the memory of 3 perfect days?" Before Olivia could respond, Dominic approached. "Camilla, your father's looking for you. Something about the Milan season opening." Camilla touched his arm possessively. "Don't be long, darling. We have the meeting with the Vienna directors tomorrow morning." When she'd gone, tension crackled between them. "What did she say to you?" Dominic asked. "Nothing I didn't already know." Olivia met his gaze steadily. "You're taking the Vienna position. It's complicated. It always is with you." She glanced toward the exit. "I should go. I have decisions of my own to make." Wrist, gentle but insistent. "Play with me. Tonight, after everyone's gone. The piece I wrote. It needs your interpretation." "Why? You have a cellar full of accomplished musicians." "Because I wrote it for you." His voice dropped, raw with emotion. "Because for 6 years, I've heard it only in my head, with your violin." Leading, the admission sent a tremor through her. "Dominic, just once," he pressed. Against her better judgment, Olivia nodded. The music room. Midnight. As she walked away, she felt the weight of paths diverging, once more Philadelphia or Vienna. Past or future, the safety of what was versus the uncertainty of what might be. Tomorrow would demand decisions. Tonight would be for the music that had always spoken when words failed them. The crescendo of the music room was transformed by moonlight. Silver beams filtered through tall windows, casting piano and music stands in ghostly relief against the shadows. Olivia entered silently, her violin case clutched like a shield. Dominic waited at the piano, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Sheet music lay before him. Handwritten, she noticed. The original score. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said, not turning. Neither was I. She removed her violin, the familiar ritual calming her nerves. "This is madness, you know." Like what, lovers?" His eyes found hers in the darkness. "We never were, though everyone assumed otherwise, including Camilla's father, especially him." Dominic gestured to the chair positioned beside the piano. "He had people watching me in Barcelona, and they reported how much time we spent together. The conclusions were predetermined." Olivia positioned her violin under her chin, seeking comfort in its solid presence. "You never fought the assumptions." "I tried." His fingers traced the piano keys without pressing them. "That day in New York when I didn't show. Up at the cafe, I was in Valenti's office, being informed of exactly how thoroughly he could destroy us both. The revelation hung between them as Dominic placed the score where she could read it. "Barcelona Nocturne," she whispered, scanning the opening measures. The composition was complex. Layered with emotions, she recognized wonder, passion, longing, and beneath it all, a current of profound loss. "Shall we?" he asked. Their music began tentatively, piano and violin finding each other in the darkness, questioning and answering. Gradually, the hesitation dissolved as the nocturne took shape around them. Olivia lost herself in the piece, her bow drawing emotions from strings that words could never express. This wasn't performance. It was conversation, everything they couldn't say distilled into pure sound. The final movement built toward something both triumphant and heartbreaking. As the last notes faded, tears streamed silently down Olivia's cheeks. "You wrote this for me?" she whispered. "For us. For what couldn't be." Dominic's voice was rough with emotion. "I've never performed it, never shared it, until now. It's beautiful. It's the truth." He stood, moved toward her. "Olivia." The door opened. Light from the hallway spilled into their sanctuary, revealing Camilla. Her expression shifted from confusion to cold understanding as she took in the scene. "So this is where you disappeared to." Her voice was controlled, dangerous. "Playing duets at midnight? How romantic we were," just Olivia began. "Spare me." Camilla stepped fully into the room. "Did you really think I didn't know? That Nocturne has haunted our relationship for years? I've watched you refuse to publish it, refuse to let anyone perform it." Her laugh was brittle. 6 years, Dominic. 6 years of engagement while you kept her memory like a shrine. Dominic moved between them. "This isn't Olivia's fault." "No, it's yours." Camilla's perfect composure cracked. "You never loved me. You loved your career, your music, your precious artistic integrity. And somewhere beneath all that, you loved the idea of Hertha, mysterious violinist who got away. I never meant to hurt you, but you did." Camilla's gaze shifted to Olivia. "Did he tell you why he's refusing Vienna? Why he's suddenly rejecting everything we've worked for?" Olivia looked between them, confusion evident. "He's starting a new chamber orchestra," Camilla revealed, "dedicated to discovering overlooked talent and democratizing classical music. Very noble, very idealistic." Her smile was razor-sharp. "He's walking away from everything, the prestige, the connections. My father is livid." Understanding dawned on Olivia, the dream Dominic had shared in Barcelona, creating an orchestra. That championed underrepresented musicians that made classical music accessible to broader audiences. "I've compromised enough," Dominic said quietly. "It's time I did what I believe in." "And what about our engagement?" Camilla demanded. The silence that followed was answer enough. Camilla nodded slowly, removed her diamond ring, and placed it precisely on the piano. 6 years wasted, she said, her composure returning like armor. My father was right about you after all. At the door, she paused. The wedding is tomorrow. I expect you'll both be professional enough to fulfill your obligations to Francesca. When she was gone, the silence between them was deafening. I should go, Olivia finally said, packing her violin with trembling hands. Don't. Dominic caught her arm. Not again. Not without knowing the truth. What truth? That you're suddenly free? That after 6 years, you've decided to pursue your dreams? She pulled away. I have decisions to make, Dominic. Real ones. About my real life, not some fantasy from 6 years ago. This isn't fantasy. The orchestra's happening. The funding is secured. His eyes held hers. And I want you as concertmaster. The offer stole her breath. You can't just... I can. I am. His intensity was magnetic. I've heard you play. You're exactly who I need, who the orchestra needs. And what happens when this ends badly? When your feelings fade or reality disappoints. I've spent 6 years living without you. I know exactly what that reality looks like. He stepped closer. I'm not asking for anything but your musical partnership. The rest, that's for us to discover, if you want. Olivia closed her eyes, feeling paths crystallizing before her. Philadelphia's security. Vienna's prestige, or this Dominic's dream, the vision they'd once shared, with all its risk and promise. I need time, she whispered. I need to think. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. The wedding is at sunset tomorrow. Find me before then with your answer. As she left the moonlit room, the nocturne's melody followed her, a question, waiting for resolution, a cadence seeking its final chord. Harmonious resolution, the day of Francesca's wedding dawned with perfect Tuscan clarity. Olivia stood on her balcony, watching the vineyard come alive with preparations workers arranging chairs, florists creating archways of summer blooms, musicians setting up near an ancient olive tree where vows would be exchanged. Her suitcase lay open on the bed, partially packed. Her phone displayed 3 draft emails, one accepting Philadelphia's first chair, one agreeing to the Vienna guest position, one declining both. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Francesca entered, already in her bridal robe, eyes bright with excitement and concern. You're leaving, she observed, noting the suitcase. I haven't decided, Olivia admitted. Francesca sat beside her. I heard about last night. Whole villa's buzzing. Camilla left at dawn. I'm sorry. For bringing drama to your wedding? Please. Italian weddings thrive on drama. Francesca smiled, taking Olivia's hands. When you introduced me to classical music at university, you spoke about it differently than anyone I'd ever met. You said the greatest compositions weren't just about technical perfection, they were about courage. The courage to reveal your soul through sound. Olivia looked away. That was a long time ago, but it's still true. Francesca squeezed her hands. I heard you and Dominic playing last night. I couldn't sleep, so I walked the halls. And then, there was this music. Like nothing I've ever heard. Her eyes shone. That's what I want for her. My marriage? Not perfection connection. It's the kind that creates something beautiful even through difficulty. After Francesca left to prepare for her ceremony, Olivia stood before the mirror, considering her reflection. Young violinist from Barcelona? Nor the resigned orchestra member who'd arrived in Tuscany days ago. Something had shifted, awakened. She reached for her violin case, removed not the instrument, but a folded piece of paper tucked in its interior pocket. The program from the Barcelona Music Festival, with Dominic's hurried writing in the margin. Music exists in possibility. It's the space between notes matters as much as the notes themselves. Her decision crystallized with sudden clarity. The wedding ceremony was breathtaking. Francesca glowed as she processed through the vineyard toward her. Waiting groom. Olivia, seated among the guests, felt a strange peace as Dominic conducted the small orchestra through his original composition, not the nocturne, but something joyful and hopeful, written specifically for beginnings. Throughout the ceremony, she never looked at him, focusing instead on Francesca and her partner as they exchanged vows beneath the ancient olive tree. Their faces reflected the simple truth that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the determination to move forward. Despite it, as the celebration shifted to the reception, Olivia slipped away to the stone terrace overlooking the valley. The sun was setting, painting the landscape in amber and gold. She heard his footsteps before she saw him. "You're still here," Dominic said quietly, coming to stand beside her. "I am. And your decision." Olivia turned to face him fully. "I declined." Vienna, his expression remained carefully neutral. "In Philadelphia, I'm taking a leave of absence." She watched understanding dawn in his eyes. The orchestra needs a concertmaster who believes in its mission. Someone willing to build something new, however uncertain. The pay will be less than Philadelphia, the hours longer, the future unwritten. "I know," she smiled. "But I've spent 10 years playing it safe. 10 years wondering what if." Dominic moved closer, his hand finding hers tentatively. "This won't be easy. There will be talk, assumptions about favoritism, and we'll prove them wrong through the work itself. Through the music we create." Her fingers tightened around his. "Not making this choice for you, Dominic. I'm making it for that girl in Barcelona who believed music could change lives. For the dream we both shared before the world intervened." The vineyard below them hummed with celebration laughter, clinking glasses, Francesca's new husband twirling. Her beneath twinkling lights, life continuing, evolving, creating new patterns. "What happens now?" Dominic asked softly. "Now, we begin again, properly." Olivia held his gaze steadily. "No more running, no more compromises. Just truth, and our music in between us." He lifted her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm with reverence. "I have the score for Barcelona Nocturne. In my room, perhaps tonight we could play it again, not as an ending, but as a beginning." "I'd like that." She smiled. "But first I believe we owe our hosts a proper celebration. I hear the bride requested Vivaldi for the first dance." As they walked back toward the reception, Olivia felt the weight of uncertainty transform into possibility. The future stretched before them, unwritten, but full of promise. It's like a blank score awaiting the first notes of a new composition. Whatever symphony emerged would be theirs to create together, measure by measure, day by day. The spaces between the notes and the courage of playing them, in the gentle Tuscan twilight, surrounded by celebration and renewal, they stepped forward. In harmony, two musicians who had found their way back to the most complex and beautiful composition of all, a second chance.